I am calling this meeting to order. It is May 18th, 2023 at 6:32. And I'll do the roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Villalobos. Councilmember McGovern.
Here.
Councilmember Styler.
Here.
Councilmember McLeod.
Here.
Councilmember Clinton.
Here.
And I am Mayor Blake. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Tight quarters over here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. And I'll do the invocation. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord. Thank you for this beautiful country and this beautiful city. And Lord God, we are here to do the city's business. And we just pray that you give us discernment and wisdom and that you help guide us in every decision that we make. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, are there any public comments? I know Mary passed out those things on the smart terminal. Mary Beth?
Okay, I've got two parts here. The first part's the library stuff. Out there about the tax aid, court fee tax aid. And this is I gave y'all the numbers last time. They're very, very preliminary. And this gives you the total number of tax returns, the adjusted gross income, and the total refund to the city of Martindale was $236,000, not to the city, but to the folks.
To the individual.
And that's only 1 day a week, and it's over 12 Tuesdays. Summer reading program starts in a couple of weeks, June 3rd, August 5th. As for adults also, just keep record of your hours and you can win a prize. And even reading the newspaper counts, or even your online stuff news. Okay, now Librarian of the Year, this is pretty special. Carol Davini received Librarian of the Year for small libraries. There she is right there. And she's received all kinds of and all of these libraries has received national and state recognition. This is really a big deal for Carol to receive that. There's a lot of libraries, and for her to receive that's wonderful. Okay, that's library stuff. Okay, the other thing is a smart terminal. It has a new name. It's not called Smart Terminal. It's called the Axis Logistics Park. And this is a bunch of PR that they put out. And I think they changed the name, but not Smart Terminal. It's bad, bad connotation. Anyway, this is what they're putting out. So the 2,000-acre park will be one of the largest master planned industrial parks in the nation. Approximately 735 acres of the park is currently zoned for industrial use. Okay, but they're going to have 2,000 acres. And they're advertising as easy access to Interstate 35, Interstate 10, and State Highway 130. And to me, if it was that close, they should have moved down there closer to 130 instead of here. And also the developer does not want to do any more changes. He wants to keep everything like it is. And again, our environment's going to be messed up. Okay, the little bitty thing that y'all got there, that was San Marcos Council votes July 3rd. That's a Monday. They vote July 3rd on the heavy industry zoning. And it may be the second reading on annexation. I'm not sure. Okay, the final everything is going to be August 5th. So, and they still have meetings. Every time that they've got a meeting, there's a group of us that show up, and there's probably like 20 or 30 of us that speak about the smart terminal. This last time we were routed out by the anti-Satanist.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I did want to make a couple of announcements. I put a flyer here. It's just been decided like in the last couple of days about having a town hall meeting next Thursday, a week from today at 6:30. Thomas Turk has revised the used, what do they call it now? The shared use path. And he would like to share those drawings with us. I have sent it out to a number of people so that y'all can see what he is proposing. And we've had a few phone calls in the office asking about it. The other thing is we've signed up our 2 utility clerks to be notaries. Unfortunately, while Adrian was gone, we had people come in and ask for a notary, and we didn't have one. It's a nice service that the city can do for the public. So we had them sign up. It'll probably be at least 3 weeks before they actually have their notary little certificates and everything. So that's coming our way. Okay, so we'll move on to,
Wait, I wanted to ask about that. So the city will notarize things free of charge?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. There would be a charge if you needed copies, but they'll notarize free of charge.
And you just need training. They just had some particular training.
Well, it's going to be online training. They signed up for the online training. Each of them did. So they can do it on their own time or while they're here at work.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to 2.1. Motion to accept or deny resolution 2023-05-18 to support the mini pitch system at the Hopson Ranch Greenspace. And so as we have heard from Maury, he's talked to his sources, and we will not be receiving the park this fall. He had thought that there might be a possibility because somebody had dropped out, but that hasn't happened. But we're on the schedule for next spring. So I'm pretty excited about it. It's about $100,000 donation if we get this mini pitch. So we just have to have the land and a flat space to put it. And Maury even volunteered to build that flat space. So we just have to provide the land.
When he is going to volunteer to pay for the foundation.
Well, like if we had a flat, like a cement flat area that we could put it, but we don't.
So he's willing to pay to put a slab, concrete slab in? Really?
Mhm.
Does it really need a slab or just need to be graded?
It's hardscape, he said. It's a hardscape surface that's enclosed with a fence and has lockers.
Yeah,
and-
no, I'm familiar with them, but I looked them up.
How big is it? It's gonna be like.
Well, there were several different sizes. I remember that.
80 by 100, maybe?
I think that's the larger one.
Huh?
I could bring up the
Yeah, the largest one.
brochure.
I think he's taking a lead in fundraising for that,
Oh,
the preparation of the.
I thought you just
I don't know if he himself is donating all of it.
Oh,
But
he'll be involved. He's involved with getting the money or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's all, whatever. But for the city's part, is really naming a spot on land where.
Donating the land.
Yes, coming up with a place to put it.
Can we discuss about parking and maintenance and electricity and all those things before we,
Yeah, those are all going to be issues.
yeah.
That's what.
I mean, parking, well, let's hear what he says first about it.
First, the size, to answer your question.
Yes.
Here's a brochure that mentions it. And yes, there's plenty of lighting necessary. The smaller size is 40 by 84. And I'll put up a visual of Hopson Ranch Greenspace.
Yeah, I was trying to get over there and measure it with Jeff, but I didn't make it.
That's things.
I think you can,
Double.
we could probably fit the full size court. It's just a matter of its orientation. It might fit on the backside of what turns into a pond after a heavy rainstorm. That's pretty wide and long over there. It's a little more narrow next to the highway.
San Marcos side or the Martindale side?
San Marcos side.
Between the pond and the property line, like a long section?
Yeah.
Not in the back part of the pond?
No, it would be lengthwise.
Yeah.
That's probably what, I think that probably likely has enough space to fit the full size court if that's what we go with. But
The 60 by 120.
yeah, a lot of work is still to be.
Sure.
Yeah.
We just didn't
on
pick a
the
spot
south
right now.
end.
Yeah.
So here,
Has there been like a survey of the residents over there or like any, like, hey, this may be going into your neighborhood. Do you like this idea? Like, at least allowing them to have some voice in, what's gonna be there? Or is there no consideration for the residents?
I have reached out to a couple and they have the same concerns, like what about parking?
What about lighting?
What about lighting? There's more children in Butterfly Meadows. And, there's some things to be worked out, that's for sure.
one of the reasons we selected this spot was because we need to use city property that we own that's in a relatively safe from the elements.
Mhm.
Um,
How much square footage is that?
yeah, we could put that.
Well, and we can't use all of it because
Right.
a lot of it is the drainage pond.
I think it's about 3 acres. Thought it was.
And the drainage pond has water in it, right?
Often does.
So then just like what I mean,
Change
I
it to
would feel
deep.
better is like, we would have to have a fence around the pond.
Yeah, or other engineering solutions are devised for that space.
343.
But I haven't heard of any calamities there. I mean, of course, it'll be visited more. So then, yes, you're right. The chance of an accident happening there, particularly at night, if someone, say, walking, I thought the parking lot in front of the daycare or the green space would be a perfect parking lot there, depending on who owns that land. And you would just walk across. I think some of the concerns were from the Butterfly Meadows residents, but I think we could also provide access from the left.
Let's also think about this too. I mean, that's 3 acres. I mean, if you really want to break it down, it's 130 and a half pretty much square feet, 130,000. The court itself is 720 square feet. If we're just doing one, it's a really small part of that
Green
the
space.
green space. I mean, we could put it in the far front corner or back corner, however you want to look at it, where it's oriented, and it won't affect any of those neighbors. They'll barely know it's there. You know what I'm saying?
And we can nose in cars on
Yeah.
the city-owned property,
Mm.
make a parking lot along that front side.
Plus, it's the only logical place to put it. You
Yeah.
can't put it on the river.
I think I get what you're saying, Sonia, where he's like, hey, let them know it's coming. If they have any objections, they can come talk to us and we'll listen to them. But I think if we put them on that far left side away from the neighborhood, I don't know, is that a house on the bottom left there?
Yeah.
This is the house.
Hmm.
This is the daycare.
Is that house inside the city limits or not?
It is.
Is that's not the Jehovah's Witness Hall? No,
That's
No,
a little bit.
That's closer to
further-
San Marcos.
Yeah,
further
that's
down.
further away.
Well, further towards.
Right, that's the house there.
Even though, I mean, yeah, I mean, I still say far, there's a lot of engineering that's gonna have to be done.
And they are, excuse me, and they are lit with lights.
That's right. That's part of their mission.
But based on our dark sky or ordinance, we could shield it downward.
Yeah, you can kind of see how it's a little bit dark around here. And it's only focuses around the field.
Well,
This isn't only the
No guarantee. But it would be,
United States,
Yeah, it could be too.
the US
700 square feet.
Foundation, but it's also this light moose cone
720.
that would install their,
at 120.
or their field lights.
60 by 120.
Yeah. That's the biggest one. And then if you go to a double, it's double that,
60.
20 by
I think, but right now what you're looking for is just like the donation of the land, correct?
Yeah.
And then all the
Yeah.
details could be worked out
Yeah,
later.
Getting the space, if
Right
council.
now, we need to
No.
talk about all that.
Engineering stuff.
How about maintenance?
And it helps that we aren't getting it this fall, because that gives us a little more time to work on it.
I guess another.
Maintenance would likely come out of the parks budget.
Don't tell me that.
He's not laughing. He's like, no, it's for real.
It's a Parks and
And she
Recreation.
did like that chest laugh like that. It was deep.
Well, we'd have to dedicate it as park space first. I mean, it's green space.
It's dedicated as park space already.
He was not
I
excited.
hadn't heard that.
Yeah,
I thought
I
it
don't
was dedicated
remember.
green space. It is,
No, it's dedicated park space.
I beg to differ on that.
I don't remember
Hey.
which city council meeting, but it was.
What do you have to say about that?
Just ignore it.
The fingers are out.
No.
The fingers are out.
We'll find it.
You
Embarrassed you, I'm
both-
sorry.
Where's that park map?
You both may be right. When it was created, in the subdivision ordinance requires a dedication of open space that's usable by the public. I think the mayor's right, but I would have to go back and pull the actual resolution mode.
Well,
Even
not
if
really
it is
confident
green
over there.
space, or if it's park space, it still belongs to the public either way. And if it is gonna be recreation, then it does fall under parks and recreation.
Now that sounds likely. I mean, I know we changed the name, but from what I've understood, when that is mowed, the payment of how that is mowed is not paid out of the park budget.
That is true.
It's paid out of another budget. So,
Cause there's no recreation there now.
well, no, because it's green space. Because I understood it was dedicated green space. And so
It's not used actively as a park. In fact, there's signs out there that say, don't trespass.
The concrete. Lord.
right. Well, but there's maintenance of the metal structure, of the lockers, of the lights, of the,
It would be very minimal. Trash is probably gonna be the biggest thing over there.
okay.
Yeah, there's all,
We did just start
whole
that.
slew of new things you can learn.
Let's make it park space then. Let's figure
We're
that
gonna have
out.
to increase the
Oh,
parks
it's a
budget
decent-
again.
Well, hopefully we'll be increasing it this summer.
Be a nice spot for a walking track too.
But if we could, let's see if
Details.
it's green space or park space.
Details.
I think we should get a firm on
Yeah.
on that. That's my only concern.
Half pipe.
Skate park.
Skate park.
Most of our city property is FEMA land. So we'd hate to have them spend $100,000 on something that could get washed away in the next big.
Actually,
flood.
technically, if it's FEMA buyout, you can't have impervious cover.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, that's in the requirement.
Oh, cut down over there.
It's the truth, man. I can bring it up to you. No, it's the truth. That's
That's our impervious cover at 20%.
Yeah.
We have almost 4.
Well, you're gonna find that you don't have the full width, or actually, it's very narrow.
Yeah.
On the west side, you probably only can get one of the, big field. If you want, shoot for the one big field and that there's no way you're gonna get 2 in. I
We
don't
can
think.
stack it.
okay. I'm gonna make a motion. A resolution of the city council of the city of Martindale, Texas, expressing its support of the, hang on, I got the wrong glasses. Expressing its support of the mini pitch system modular sports solution and dedication to Hopson Ranch Greenspace.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second that.
All right. Is there any more discussion?
I just really would like to emphasize that we just make sure that there is, like the residents there either get notified by survey, by whatever, because I believe like in them being able to have a voice also in what they have. For me, I have to look at it from all angles. That would be like us saying, okay, a family donated that land for a reason to the city. Think if we were to do something like that at Guardiola Park, you know what I mean? Would it be the same thing? Are we considering the voices of, you know, everyone that's involved, and are they having buy-in, or are we as individuals just saying, this is what's gonna go in your area over there?
I agree. I think we need to notify them. I've only talked to 2 people.
So, I mean, was there already a first and a second?
Yes. There was a motion and a.
He seconded, Matthew seconded.
I
Do you
I think
want to
just-
table it until we speak to the residents? or-
We
I
already
mean-
have a motion and
Oh.
a second.
Okay,
So I'm a no for that reason, just because there has not been any buy-in from that community, and I just feel like their voice wasn't utilized in this decision. I support it, I love the idea, but I also want the community to feel like they have, you know, like I said,
I
buy-in.
feel like we can have, I mean, this is just preliminary. Hey, we're cool with this as the spot. There's so much more to talk about this, that including, so.
Yeah.
I think once those motions off the table, I think there'd be room to make a follow-on motion to something to that effect.
Yeah, you can add on motion.
You want to try a vote first or what?
Okay, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
I'm a nay, just because of the,
Okay, but it does carry. Okay, so if you want to make a motion to notify the resident, that would be good.
okay, so I would like to make a motion that the residents of Hopson Ranch, that they are made aware that this is a possibility, that it's gonna go into that area, and that we at least allow them to have their voice heard on whether they think it's a good idea, bad idea, suggestions, you know, anything that they think.
would you like it to be within a certain amount of time, something that we would email them or send them a actual letter in the mail to each resident?
I
Or
think like if we know like their targeted area in that neighborhood, possibly like, you know, either something in by mail, or we could put something in on the website. Hey, here's a survey. This is gonna be going on in this neighborhood. Do you think it's a good idea? Ideas, thoughts, you know, whatever. And then they could just do it via on the, you know, yeah.
city website?
Should we do a survey for all the citizens of Martindale? Get input for everybody, not just Hopson Ranch.
Yeah.
I mean, just make.
I think we should identify though the residents of Hopson Ranch, that we know what they in particular.
Especially the people that are.
Hopson Ranch and probably Butterfly Meadows.
Better from.
It
I
is
think
an
there
issue.
could be a trail from one thing that both neighborhoods would like to see is somehow for, you know, to connect them without having to go on the highway, especially if children are involved. If there was a vacant lot or something where there could be a easement or something like that where they could get across. That was the concern that was voiced to me also. So,
Traffic also. I
Another
mean,
sidewalk.
Traffic
Another side.
is an issue.
okay, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, is there any more discussion?
No,
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any nays? Okay, so the motion carries.
And then just to be very clear, I appreciate everything Laurie's done. I love the idea. I think it would be a great asset to the community of Martindale. And just the reason why I voted no is just because of the community voice that I feel like was not a part of the conversation. And it's basically the governance, the body of the governance saying, this is where it's gonna go.
Yes, and then I want to ask something else. Is the intention of this to have a place for, say, the neighborhoods to play, or eventually could soccer leagues be formed based in different cities, and then they would have soccer tournaments there that the city could thus perhaps lease this out? Does the city own this once
Yeah.
is put on our footprint, or we still, we're not leasing, I mean, it's not a lease, it's something they're donating to the city. So let me ask the fellows here about how do they feel about us thus renting this out perhaps to soccer league tournaments and make money off of it?
I'm gonna tell you right now, it won't happen. I mean, I've coached soccer, I played soccer all my life. You'll never do it with one field.
You'll what?
Never do anything with one field. If you had multiple fields, you would do it. You'd never have a tournament or anything around one field.
Because of the size of the field?
Yeah.
or-
That this is
One game.
this is a reach out to get the kids, you know, and get more involvement in the sport,
Mhm.
centered around, you know, the club in Austin. You know, that's what it's about. It's just about getting more participation. I don't see this as a soccer, you know, tournament. There's no way you're gonna have a soccer tournament in one field. You'd have to have, you know, 6, 7 fields, you know, and that's how it's like, you know.
If you wanted to have a weeknight adult, then you could, or if you wanted to lease it for practice, you could.
Yeah.
But I think that's exactly, I mean, it's like any other new thing at this point. If it's not blown out of proportion, it's not worth doing.
That's true. Everything's bigger.
We need 13 fields.
There's a lot of questions.
But then what
to
is-
that.
I mean, we could eventually do real, you know, fields out, you know, when we could acquire more land, you can then have soccer fields. I mean, that's in Vegas where we were, all the soccer fields that are up on the hill are actually reclaimed water irrigation areas that are overflow.
And
They're designed for that. They're perfect because there's just goalposts, so you move them.
Mhm.
They're the easiest sport to put into a flood area is soccer. It's the number one.
But with it being donated by a not-for-profit, by a nonprofit organization, and then as you stated, to just, or like, to bring awareness about soccer, and then for them to donate it to the city, and then the city to lease it out.
I think it would have to be not more like a reservation.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so once, a nonprofit, a for-profit, an individual, a company, that doesn't matter, can donate something to a city. And once the city takes it, it owns it. And this is a donation of something that will be attached to real property that the city owns. And real property is land and anything that is permanently fixed to land. So, I mean, what happens with it after this? Purely left to the city's discretion. Would it fundamentally violate the expectations of the donor if the city were to exclude general use and only allow use for payment? Yeah, it would probably be bad PR. But there's no problem with the city, as is appropriate on occasion, allowing this to be leased out, if that's the best and highest use of it, because conceivably, there could be youth leagues, teams that want to practice and would, to make best use of it, want to reserve that facility to the local team practice.
And they would pay. Yeah.
Or adult group as well. So, but there's no problem with it at all. The city can do
I
it.
think, you're not gonna make a killing, but I think at least you pay for the trash picker upper.
What about, I mean, I've never played soccer on a hardscape before. What is your experience with that of playing soccer on a concrete surface?
I played on, turf. I played outdoor. I played on you don't want a big field on the hardscape. You just don't. You want a smaller field.
It's not that bad. I fell down a lot.
That was on turf though. This is
Harder.
This is harder. Yeah. This is like a concrete. This is concrete. This is,
It's like basketball.
yeah, this is basketball court. Yeah. Yeah, it's no boarding, not like what you did, okay? None of that.
Was there also talk of something I remember, perhaps maybe not, about some conversion of it into a basketball court?
That would be separate and apart. The city wanted to take on that effort.
Hmm.
And it made sense. We could look at putting a basketball goals. And I think there's examples in the brochure of other places doing that, but
Yeah, you can see on that one.
I'd pay for that.
No, it's on the other side of the fence.
Is that a tennis?
There's,
What's on the left there?
that's just a,
It looks like,
it's a plot of cement that they've lined out for other uses.
it looks like that's what I mean.
But that doesn't mean you know, put a basketball in that and run it the other way, across the other way, you know what I mean?
So that looks, to me, that does not look like concrete, that looks like turf.
It's called paint, green paint,
Mhm.
with white lines.
There, it's red.
Now we can have red.
Thank you.
That's clay.
Wimbledon.
There you go.
Oh,
There's
here it is.
Ooh.
Oh, there's a a basketball.
And then it has a basketball.
If you make it in the basket with the soccer ball, you're winning. That's a pretty good idea.
Again,
It's really popular right now. Fastest growing sport in the United States.
Pickleball.
You have to say that every time we talk about pickleball.
Pickleball.
my wife and I play, it's fun.
They're converting the Bed Bath and Beyonds into pickleball. They went bankrupt.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. That's so good. Better use for space, that's for sure.
Okay,
That's all I got on
let's
this.
move on. 2.2. We're gonna turn this over to Adrian. We've sent him to school to learn all about the flood and all of that
Yeah.
stuff.
So-
Oh,
Oh.
do I need to read the resolution?
I mean, Mike read the header and the motion for it. I think it's sufficient. The motion's passed anyways.
And it's included here for everyone to read. So I think that's fine. Okay,
So, hi everyone. So this is going to be a brief presentation on a little bit what the National Flood Insurance Program is and a step beyond it, which is the community rating system. Some of you may have heard me talk about it in the past month or so or a few months. So I'll make this presentation fairly brief. We're going to talk about significance of flood insurance and the flood insurance program, the community rating system, which I'll refer to as a CRS, and possible council actions tonight. If there's any questions or any confusion during the presentation, feel free to interrupt and just ask away. So this is language about the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program, and what its attempts to do is to reduce the impacts of flood on private and public structures, encourage communities to adopt and enforce floodplain management regulations, and help mitigate the effects of flooding on new and improved structures and reduce the socioeconomic impacts of disasters. This community is very familiar with disasters, especially when it comes to floods. And if you look at our flood insurance rating map, you'll notice that a lot of Martindale is covered under a special flood hazard area and subject to some flood risk.
We currently belong to this stuff, the city. The
Sorry?
city belongs to the NFIP.
Yes, so the city is a participant of the NFIP. That part of the reason we are a participant was because of the 2015 flood. For us to receive federal disaster assistance, we had to become a member of the NFIP program. So Martindale is a compliant member of the NFIP. And so
The city of Martindale.
that's right.
Okay.
And Caldwell County is a part of it as well. There's maps all over Caldwell County. FEMA does these studies to help inform communities and community leaders on policies regarding flood insurance and flood mitigation. So there's 3 standards: understand the risk, mitigate the risk, and insure the risk. I'll go in brief detail about each of these standards, which help support the NFIP. One of the basics is recognizing where you are in the floodplain, how to guide development. So for instance, the impervious cover would be one of those standards of guiding development using policy. to mitigate flood hazard disasters, establish enforce regulations that reduce risk. Again, example is in previous cover, we're all very familiar with it, and engage in educating the public. I'll be going to that a little bit that tonight. And then determining flood risk areas. So here's our Martindale map. It's not there for examining, but as a visual of what Martindale really looks like. Majority of our city limits is in a special flood hazard area. So many of the building regulations that the city adopts should consider the probability of inundations. Mitigating the risk, understanding substantial improvements and substantial damages, pre and post planning for disasters, and adopting regulations that improve our building standards. And ensuring the risk. This arguably is the most important component of the programs. So FEMA really encourages community members to participate in the flood insurance. That is going to be your financial shield from disaster. In this past rainfall, we had serious concerns that it may flood here. And we hate to have our members of the community distressed from a natural disaster, then have to recover from that disaster and not have the means to do it. So encouraging members in a special flood hazard area to participate in flood insurance is very important. But one of the issues that cities all over the United States face is the inability to encourage those to adopt into the program. So people recognize that flood insurance exists, but then rule it out that they can't afford it. And it is expensive.
Yeah, I want to get back on that question.
Yes.
What if I don't get flood insurance? There's penalties, risks to the community, may reduce your property value.
That's right.
It's a prime example for me. Okay, I got flooded in 15. When I bought the house in 08, the flood insurance was $4,000 a year, and it's probably higher now. I've raised the house 3 feet, so I got questions. What the penalties? That's a problem for me. If I know if you finance a home, you have to have flood insurance.
Right.
I don't. My home's paid for.
That's right.
So for me personally, and I think once you quoted, didn't you go through this with your, how much they quote you?
Like 14,000.
See, there you go, $14,000. So for me, as a homeowner in a floodway, I've mitigated the problem. Okay, my house is 3 feet higher than it was before. Do I want to spend $17,000 a year on flood insurance? Be honest with you, probably not.
So there's a few, and I'm glad you bring that up. And part of tonight's conversation is going to address that immense.
Can I say one other point? When I raised my house, I'm 25 inches above the base flood elevation. So I have met the criteria. I've exceeded it by an inch. So I have mitigated that risk myself.
But I
And
asked
think
when
we're
you're
gonna see
quoted,
that in the presentation,
that's right.
that there's going to be some things.
But that is an excellent example why we should consider the CRS program, which I'll elaborate in a minute. And Mike, those are frequent issues that people all over the country experience. And that's part of the reason the CRS exists. So
Wait, go, and then I have a question about the why part.
So FEMA penalties, FEMA is not going to sanction your home and take it away. But what could happen is their form of penalizing individual homeowners or properties is it's a code called FEMA 1316, which is you think about it as
Could you say the code again, please?
FEMA 1316.
1316, okay.
That's right. What it does is it recognizes that this home's at risk. It's not covered by flood insurance. And in the event of disaster, this property is not eligible for flood disaster funds. So if you're to go to FEMA and the federal government, ask them, hey, my house flooded away, and you have a FEMA 1316, they are not required to help you. So that's an assumed risk of the property owner. having flood insurance does allow you to receive assistance. And again, if your house is well above the BFE, and if I might ask before I say this, did you get that quote before or after you elevated the house?
All this way before, this is in '08, and I was referenced
So
40,000.
when properties now do what Mike did and elevate their houses, your quote should significantly reduce. It's probable that at the time when you were quoted for your flood insurance, they were considering the elevation compared to where the river is.
Well, Catherine, here's a prime example. Your house is already elevated, and how much was it?
Well, but I didn't know about all of the other things he's gonna talk
Yeah.
about.
If the insurance
How
agent
you
doesn't
can do
know
it.
what the BFE of your home is and it's not certified, then you're getting quoted based upon the elevation of the ground.
Yeah,
And that's one of the things that I learned, Adrian informed and I did some more research. It's very, these simple little things make a huge difference. And they don't know unless you give them, your insurance agent, the data.
That's right.
yeah.
And part of the CRS just asks the homeowner to investigate a little bit more of their property, such as identifying or getting a certificate of elevation and comparing it to the BFE so that the homeowner knows where they lie on that BFE line.
That's a
And
good
Sam,
segue.
Did you have any, you said you had a comment about why?
Why, I mean, you mentioned that why, and he did as well, that if you're paying a mortgage, you have to have flood insurance.
Right, that's a.
But if you're saying now that you need it if you're in the floodplain or the floodway, regardless of whether you're paying a mortgage?
No, but only to guarantee that you will get federal assistance in the event of a disaster.
Yeah.
But again, for instance, Mike's choice is his choice. It's this assumed risk knowing where he is.
What if a house, say, flooded twice and then you did a substantial amount of work on it, and then someone buys the house? It would be up to the new homeowner to whether they're paying the mortgage or not, but depends if it's in the floodway or the floodplain.
Right. We may encourage to relocate or elevate or not purchase a house. That's what FEMA puts out, but our rules apply a little bit differently. We can't tell someone to not purchase a property, but we can inform them about the risk of their home.
And we might want to let him finish the
Okay.
thing and
He's gonna
then
answer a
ask,
few of these
he's gonna
questions.
answer some of the questions.
So some people can't afford flood insurance. Getting quoted $17,000 a year is not, it's not feasible for the most part and for most homeowners. And so FEMA created this CRS. It's a extension of the NFIP. Martindale is already a participant of the NFIP. And what we'll be looking here tonight is whether we want to pursue the CRS standards. You don't have to adopt all the policies into CRS, but you get to pick and choose and you get to decide how to approach these proposed solutions that FEMA will then evaluate and score you on. So here's a CRS discount chart. We technically today, if we were to be under CRS, would be a rank 0, rank 10, which we have 0 points and we receive 0 discounts. But communities who adopt the CRS standards, and the more points you get, depending on each standard you're graded on, you can qualify up to a community 45% discount. So Mike's quote of 17,000 would be reduced roughly to, I don't know, 9,000.
That's still a lot of money.
Right. But since you've taken those measures since, and you get a re-quoted for your now new elevated structure, you might find yourself finding a cheaper quote. But this is a way for the communities.
Real quick, what my insurance man told me, it's a government thing. It's pretty much set. It's set by the government. I mean, you go from one agent to another agent, it's pretty much the same. That's what I've been told by the insurance man.
So that is insurance through a private entity. This is insurance through the federal government.
But the private entity goes through FEMA. They go through the same.
Not quite. You actually could purchase insurance from Geico, for instance. on flood insurance, or you could buy into the federal insurance policy. And those are two separate entities,
We were talking about the federal flood.
the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program.
It might be the case, Mike, that some private insurers, for a small nominal fee, might buy you into the federal program as kind of a broker type of relationship.
So adopting more standards and performing them better, or depends on the intensity of how you adopt it, raises your points, gives the community, everybody in this room and everybody in Martindale who is on flood insurance through the NFIP a better rate. There are 4 standards and 19 subcategories. The public information category, the map and regulations category, damage reductions, and flood preparedness. This is a little bit more feasible for the city of Martindale to do. This includes examples such as publishing our flood maps on the webpage. I could do that today. Some of them are more rigorous, such as recreating your own flood maps, maybe using Atlas 14. That might take some more investment, and maybe worth the time for a larger city like Austin, for instance, or cities in Louisiana that need that discount more than anything. So yeah, I'll go over a few of the standards of the public information section. I'm going to use this as our first example because it's a lot simpler, it's more digestible, and a lot of these standards are easily adopted probably tomorrow if we wanted to. One of them is requiring elevation certificates before signing off on permits. So each permit must have an elevation certificate if you're in a special flood hazard area. Number 2 is providing information about our maps. And again, that's standard of creating a new map. Outreach projects. This could be just informing community members in a brochure on our utility bill about who to reach out to for information on floods, disclosing. The following standard is the hazard disclosure, which is informing property owners within the special flood hazard area that they are in a special flood hazard area and what risks come with that. Flood protection information, that is, again, putting out more information, leaving information at other public entities in the city. One example is leaving FEMA resources at the community library. Again, I could do that tomorrow if I really wanted to, or if we really wanted to pursue the CRS.
A definition of special flood hazard area, is that either a 100-year or 500-year flood?
So anything that's marked on this map is considered a special flood hazard area.
The floodway, 100-year floodplain, and the 500-year floodplain.
That's correct. All considered special flood hazard area.
Basically the whole city.
Which?
So basically the whole city.
city.
Well, there is some white
Right.
in the city. The white is like no hazard.
Yeah, it is determined to be high enough to be more safe than your adjacent properties.
Well, there is a little white there on the bottom, right there.
Right.
Which I have.
Just
A
rub
little island.
just rub it in.
Everyone's coming to my
Rub
place.
it in. You're on the high ground, we know.
All the rats go come.
Yeah, us.
Yeah, the rats here, all the rats are coming here.
Me and Mike.
There is a stagecoach stop there historically.
Just keep rubbing it in.
No, not on my land, on Hoffman's, Joe Hoffman's land.
So the flood protection assistance is one-on-one guidance, kind of counseling on flood insurance and flood protections, recommending to new homeowners or existing homeowners where to install flood vents or what the BFE is. There's a bit of a internal program within the city that the council would have to appoint a representative of that to assist folks in this community. And lastly is the flood insurance promotion. It's forming a committee that is centered on closing the gap of misinformation on flood insurance and how to enroll. Their whole objective is to recruit people onto flood insurance. It's an annual recruitment program.
Probably ask the River Advisory Board to help us.
And I've spoken to the River Advisory Board, and they support this initiative on initiating the information standards. We'll be developing some policies around it on how to apply them in our city. Before I move forward, is there any questions?
Does it qualify for a lot of points?
So that leads me into
There we go.
this slide. This 300, say series 300 public information, maximum points is 1,061. Most cities score at about 400 range. So if we were to adopt this perfectly to the T, you would at most get 10% off community. But this is not including the rest of the 3 series of the CRS program, which is mapping and regulations, flood damage reductions, which some of it may sound like the previous cover, or the BFE. FEMA actually recommends either 1 foot, 2 foot, or 3 foot BFE. The more you add, the more points you get. But those are all decisions that the governing body makes. You don't have to adopt any of these standards. If Martindale only wanted to pursue the public information series, that's totally fine, and we just live on with a rate class of 8. But we could always do more. So briefly, I'm just gonna, is there any questions about the information I just presented a bit ago?
The map you showed us was the 2017 flood map that has been updated as of 2020. The map you just showed us here.
Yeah, the Martindale's map,
Yes.
that is our most recent firm flood insurance rating map. It's what FEMA has provided the city, the study they've done, and that's what we're going to go off of.
Do we have historical data from the flood previously that we had, or like our previous flood events, of how many of our residents did utilize the FEMA funds? How many people were insured at that time? And then also, I think whenever you stated about FEMA paying them, they're able to utilize the flood disaster funds, that they may not pay you, but that doesn't mean that they will not. It's not a hard answer to say that there would disqualify you from receiving those funds if you do not have insurance. They just may, correct?
So I said the word may intentionally, because in the instance of Mike, and this is straight from the FEMA disaster specialist that attended the seminar, or we'll just put it that way. That question was asked. So what if I'm not in flood insurance, but then I get flooded? Is there no more chances of me getting onto the flood insurance? There is actually an emergency registration. So you could sign up the next day in the event of a disaster and get federal assistance. But if you refuse to sign up within this 30-day window, then you're ineligible for assistance. But the way I understood is that you're probably going to pay a premium. You're going to have to provide a lot more documentation. It's a lot more work, and you're still not, how do I put it? It's still not guaranteed that you will receive federal assistance.
And I would just like to look at the numbers from before.
And
I'm
FEMA
sure
does have
FEMA
that.
has it, yeah.
FEMA shared it lightly over with me on the phone. Actually, forgive me. The Texas Water Development Board did. They work together on flood disasters. And the representative I spoke to shared some of that information, but it's not, can't disclose that to the public because it has people's private information on it.
No, but I mean, just like whenever you do, you could say property owner 1. They don't have to give the names with it. It could just say 42 people in Martindale received disaster relief funds. Out of the 42, 30 were insured. The remainder was not. I mean, we don't need to see all that. I just would like numbers.
Yeah, if, I can reach out to our specialist that, have worked with me on this presentation to determine that number. But as far as internal records goes, I'm not sure we have that exact.
Maybe this is a question I need to ask an insurance man. For example, my front yard is not elevated. So if I had cars or vehicles out there, would my vehicles be covered or equipment? Or
The
whatever?
NFIP has two policies. One is for your structures, and there's a separate policy to protect your,
Personal property.
Personal property, content.
That's in the house. Is that inside the house or your personal property around the house?
It's like, the way it was described to me is that you could protect assets that are not a structure. But yeah, you would have to talk to one of the NFIP.
Yeah, that talks folks. Okay,
But yeah,
that's a good question. People would say, like for myself, okay, we can't. Okay, if you do get it, your cars or whatever, when the yard or whatever are covered. Or your fence that went down, or lawnmowers or whatever, you know?
yeah. But most of those items can be protected under the NFIP.
It's common insurance. Guys.
This is sort of a tag to her question though, like, we have several homes here in town that have flooded and have flooded again, and they may be able to not afford flood insurance. And so we probably have multiple numbers of homes, perhaps those that, as I said, can afford it. How does those types of situations hinder the city in becoming a part of this program? I mean, are you saying all those that are in the floodway or the floodplain, you're encouraging them to get insurance based on what the city structure of this can provide? Or what about those that don't ever get flood insurance?
I
What's,
think there's a way that we could document contacts with those people, and that we have had a counseling, or I don't know if that's the word
That's
that they
right.
use, but they use a counseling for those property owners. And if we document that, then
that the city made their best ability to reach out to those people, but they decided based on,
Circumstances.
circumstances, they don't want to
Right.
become a part of the program.
and then we also, through that counseling, we can also, if there's availability to do a FEMA buyout,
Yeah.
we would also encourage that. It's all about trying to get people to mitigate the risk, either by not living there anymore, turning it into green space, buying into the flood insurance program. And if none of that works, then we document it and move on to the next property owner.
So to that point, and that's right. So when I mentioned the FEMA 1316, FEMA's not going to go to your front door. It's going to be the city actually who would be documenting their attempts to register people on flood insurance. Now, if you're in a 500-year floodplain, you're not under the NFIP, you're not required to get flood insurance. But if you are in a 100-year floodplain, you should be in flood insurance. And so I would go to Mike's door and Mike, hey, please sign up on flood insurance. And I attempt multiple visits and multiple means of communications. I would write a letter to FEMA, or the city would write a letter to FEMA saying that I've made all attempts to recruit this person on flood insurance. Please file property ID X as a FEMA 1316. But there's a list that needs to be exhausted before you can file a FEMA 1316. And a little bit onto Sonia's point, people who have already been filed as a 1316, no flood insurance. And that just denies your federal assistance.
That's all though.
Right. And you could always get back flood insurance, but it's a lot more rigorous. And once the disaster hits, we've tried in the past.
That 1316 process you're talking about goes back to the points. So going through that 1316 process improves the points, improves the discount that the participants in the flood insurance program would receive.
So one thing I would like to know, I know that you wrote down about the numbers that I would like to see, but I would also like to know how many residents currently are on a 1316. I would also like to suggest that at our Martindale River event, that you have a workshop with this information provided to the public, along with an opportunity to sign up with computers there, maybe to work in collaboration with the library, that they would be able to assist. The river event will happen on a Friday and a Saturday, so maybe that would be a good time for like a Saturday workshop in coordination with the river committee. And then also we could like maybe blow up some pictures of our historical flood images to see, you know, the significant impact that it did have on our community. But I think with having the photos, the numbers, the data, the information, and opportunity to sign up, that would be a good time for outreach.
That's a wonderful idea.
That's a wonderful idea.
You're hired, Sonia.
We do want to make sure at the end of this presentation, we'll be asking for some motions we want to make sure that city council wants to proceed with the CRS program first.
And I can definitely.
We could do a informational thing without CRS, but to really, it would be helpful to do a CRS program in conjunction with it.
That gives us, you know, a few months to like plan. I'm, you know, definitely willing to help.
Yeah, this is Adrian's brought this up to the river committee a long time ago. Okay, this has been going on for a while because, you know, the river committee was trying to change some of the ordinances. And when Adrian came back from the training, he said, look, the verbiage that we've been trying to, you know, spend a lot of Jared's valuable time trying to come up with the right verbiage. FEMA already has it, and the CRS has the verbiage that we wanted to already do, and everyone in the council was already on board with. You know, doing the impervious cover was one of those, hey, that wasn't part of 153, it's 155, it's an easy one. Let's just take care of the easy one. What he's getting to, what Adrian's getting to is there's the list is 100 long. What we're gonna do is, you know, pick 10 and pick the ones that are doable quickly and give us some, you know, some value and focus on those. Obviously, what you're saying is, you know, that's a great suggestion, obviously, you know, start educating the people, but this is a long-term, you know, process. You know?
As an example, he's going to pull it up.
Yeah,
The manual for this thing is 640 pages big.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a long-term project for everybody, you know what I mean? But the goal is, you know, everyone, we're prepared for the next flood. What to me, the one I saw this, I read is it's going to make everyone be way more prepared for a flood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you don't have that, you know, craziness that's going on. You know what's going to happen. You know, what are they allowed to park in the floodway, and is it, you know,
Yeah.
are they able to move it quick enough? Like Mike said, you're going to leave all three of your cars in the driveway. You're going to, you know,
I'm gonna make a suggestion.
you know,
Adrian, I know you did a great job. I got your presentation, but for me, as a homeowner, I would like to have a specialist, possibly on Zoom, and we could ask those technical questions like just ask you. I think that would be, if you could find one of the people that gave you that presentation, because I got questions. I mean,
I have two volunteers from the Texas Water Development Board who's asked if we would like a presentation from them as well.
that'd be excellent. Maybe bring an insurance man in, somebody specialized in insurance, because I got questions like a 13, what does it mean? Okay, I want to know exactly, you know, I mean, we all have to go get our cost or whatever, but I want to know that 1316, I want to know exactly what it is.
Let me see on this. Mike McLeod.
And part of the flood insurance specialist you're talking about, one of the bonus points to the flood insurance promotion is that a flood insurance agent sit on that board to answer those technical questions. And there's serious bonus points for having that.
you get more points by having an agent on the board.
Makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Other than that, is there any other questions?
Oh, that's good.
So this is just a public information point where you can get up to 1,000 points, 1,050 points. Now, this is not a one staff does all type of thing. This is a collective effort that we as a city and a community need to work together. The vision for the CRS should be that reduce and avoid flood damages to insurable property, strengthen and support the insurance aspects of the National Flood Insurance Program, and foster improved comprehensive floodplain management. If we could plan every year to increase our rating by 5%, we could potentially meet that rate class number 1. It's not common when a community can reach that high, but it's definitely a goal to be made that if we can increase our flood insurance score by just a level every year. And I think if we organize ourselves fairly well, we can hopefully accomplish that.
Could you go back to the slide before that? Reduce and avoid flood damage, but you're saying if you have insurance, it reduces flood damage?
So
Well, part of it
You're
is
gonna get
education.
damaged whether you have
I
insurance
understand,
or
but part of
not.
it's education is you say, okay, you can't store, you should not be storing certain things, in these zones. And that's part of it is just educating. Some of these people are like, and they don't really get it. They just moved to the area, or it's been 7 years, it's been 8 years, they forgot. One of the purpose of this, yeah, exactly. One of the purposes is so, hey, do you guys not remember what the flood happened? That should not be there. And if it is, how the heck are you getting it out of there? And that's the purpose of the education is to keep those people in mind that they prepped it and they've got the towing truck to pull the RV out of there. Or why are you putting a little structure in, a little shed there? Why wouldn't you move it closer to the house? Oh, well, it's too far to walk. Well, that's a problem. It's a lot of it's just education, simple, stupid stuff that people just don't think about because it's out of mind.
That explains it better to me, because it's almost like you're saying we're avoiding peripheral flood damage to insurers that might be down the river, perhaps.
So if I might add to that first point you referenced,
Okay.
there's these floodgates that houses on the 100-year floodplain should have. It's very common for people to put like a mesh material to avoid critters crawling up in there.
Come look at
What
my
ends up
house.
happening,
Hey, look at mine. That's what I got exactly.
right? What ends up happening if you have that material blocking it, you could, just a piece of plywood can just block it and won't seep through the floodgate and go throughout the other one. And could really create some significant damage to the structure and the grade at the bottom. That's just very minimal things that can affect your structures and houses. So, like Matthew said, informing them about the
Better
building
technique.
standards.
That's all it's about.
Okay. No,
In fact, when Randy Bunker was the mayor, he took pictures of my house as an example how to mitigate flood damage, because I put as many fences I could, crawl sprays, hurricane straps, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
You're welcome to come
I'm
look.
sure if you were to get quoted, it'd be very low. Ever since.
I don't know. I'd have to see the numbers. I'd have to talk to an insurance man.
Yeah, but here's an example that if I know you're being very conservative of this 5%, because I know what we've looked at is the first couple, 10 or 15% is very achievable in this discount fairly quickly. Getting past that requires work. There's a lot of stuff that the city's already done to get to these points. You're just being nice about being conservative about it. But once you get that, now you're getting a $3,000 insurance bill, and it's going to go down, 15 to 25%.
Still, my
That's
house is in the
significant.
floodway, so I'm going to be high end. Even though I'm elevated, it's going to be higher.
Yeah, I understand.
Most likely.
I understand, but
You don't have to participate. You still-
I'm just saying, I need to have those questions. That's fine.
But I believe your insurance, as Adrian, we believe your insurance is going to be a lot lower than you think it is. You know what I mean?
Especially compared to what it once was.
Compare to where it once was, because you've raised it.
That was quoted, 15 years ago.
Yeah, so this is.
Inflation. Oh, whatever. That's just another subject.
So yeah, this is a cooperative
Get on
effort.
phone right now, let's do it.
Your insurance?
Has its,
No, you're an expert on that?
city staff should have responsibilities such as maintaining the website and flood information, and make sure that a lot of these activities do end up happening. In the permit review, City Council has a responsibility to adopting higher standards and building regulations through ordinances and even resolutions. And boards and commissions also have an obligation to promote flood insurance and inform the community about the risks. And it's not only subject to the River Board. Some of this falls to the Historic Commission, such as structures in a flood hazard area that are not labeled as a historic landmark are not protected and cannot be rebuilt if they experience substantial damages. To my knowledge, for instance, our dam is not a historical landmark. So if something were to happen to it and it's beyond and it has substantial repairs needed to do, we should not permit that
I
restructure.
bet David Long doesn't know that.
Right, and so that's part of what the Historic Commission can do.
Yeah.
Is that 50% threshold?
That's right.
It's not about how much is damaged, it's about how much it costs to repair it. So if it gets damaged today and you put it off at your first quote for 30% of its actual value, but then you wait 10 years because of inflation, it's now 70% of its value that you need to repair. That structure should not be re-permitted. And again, that's a responsibility of city staff to not permit a renewal like that.
And if you do permit it, it could hurt your score.
Right. And even your compliance with the NFIP, that's a whole different conversation. Now, before we move forward with the recommended council action items, is there any final questions, comments about this program or concerns?
Some homes that may have gotten flooded in 2015 have a low value, say anywhere from $30,000 to $70,000. And yet, if someone makes improvements on the house and it's deemed that value by the appraisal district, and they make more monetary improvements than say 50% of 40,000, I mean, I don't know what I'm reaching
According to
for.
our ordinance, if they make more than 50%, they have to bring it up to standard.
That's right. The non-conforming use is no longer protecting that structure, and then we had to elevate it. However, we're looking at not exactly what the appraisal of the county says, it's the appraisal of the structure. So say your lot is worth $100,000, but your property is worth $50,000. So 150 is the total. The 50% threshold isn't 75,000, it's 25,000.
The 50% of the value of the structure.
Not the land.
Okay.
And it is in everybody's best interest that it be in compliance. You don't want a structure which utilities and the structure itself is under the BFE. What's going to happen is that structure gets washed away into another structure, and that structure could be in compliance. But now you have two damaged structures instead of just one.
Which is one of the reasons why when we're doing our substandard buildings and code enforcement, we're focusing on those properties within the flood hazard areas.
Yeah. It might seem intimidating at the beginning when you're faced with that scenario, but the big picture is you don't want to damage more people or cause real life-threatening problems because someone didn't elevate their structure, for instance.
Adrian, so on this right here, this image, the flood insurance study, and then it has the city number, like what all information came with this?
So actually, that is called an FIS, flood insurance study. You'll find it in the FEMA Service Center, and it's actually a comprehensive study of Caldwell County. FEMA is just one panel of, I believe, 38. And that tells you the BFE. So if, say, the mayor was asking me, what is the BFE at her property? I would refer to that manual that you're looking, that's just the cover. And look at a series of graphs. They're,
Here.
there you go.
Yeah.
That's the one.
So this shows the graph of the location of what You know,
Oh, just with the VFEs.
yeah, where it needs to be, yeah, so it's, so when it translates to the map, so when we're doing Lanzola property, and Lee was showing the line, it's referencing going back against this,
Mhm.
and then how much you have to go above
Okay. Got
of
it.
these standards.
study leaks.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
And there's a series of other details on it, but only so much pertains to Martindale.
Okay.
So if you're right on the borderline though of the floodway and the 100-year floodplain, say you are more in the 100-year floodplain and you have a structure, I mean, do you have to raise it up in the 100-year floodplain or only in the floodway?
Both. More reason to floodway, and there'd probably be a lot of dissuasion on building in the floodway. I have an alternative presentation that I could share with you, explaining that. That's a common question.
Okay.
About those boundaries. Lines are just lines, but what happens in the real world is a whole different scenario. They don't blend as much.
Yeah, because the floodway has changed in the 2017 updated most map. The floodway has increased, and it's surprising that it's increased in areas where the flooding comes not just from the river, but from creeks overflowing that eventually join the river. I mean, the majority of the flooding, the widest part of the floodway is, and on this city map that I see, is not even close to the river. That's
On the
surprising.
bypass point, basically following Southeast River Road. Is that what you're
Yes.
talking about?
Yes, where a tree lane and cemetery is, and all a gravel pit and all of that area.
And that is a common concern that people have, like, well, these maps aren't accurate, or it's impossible to get it right. And FEMA agrees with you, and everybody would agree with you. The thing is that we need a supporting document to create policy. We can't just go off what we feel is a dangerous area, because to someone else it may not feel the same way. So that's why FEMA provides us these maps, so that we can use our best judgment with some backup.
Yeah, so
However,
that's where
whatever is the newest map or most current, the FEMA, NFIP, the CFR, Federal Code of Federal Regulations states that you must use the best available data available to you, not necessarily the NFIP map, but that is at the moment our best study that Martindale has.
something that would overcome the FEMA firm would be a letter of map revision to Lomers, as
Yeah.
you probably heard. That's where a single property owner or a developer could have their flood hazard reconsidered based off of changes in topography or something to that effect, if they've, built barriers or somehow, but.
Backed up by an engineer report or study.
Yep. That's right. And all those Lomers are also identifiable on the FEMA's map service or FEMA map center.
Okay.
Other questions, concerns? Okay. So aside from Sonia's recommendation about the River Appreciation Day, I did have 3 motions to consider. One is whether we want to participate in a CRS, which is, we had to submit an application as a community to be considered as a member of the CRS. We've already met the first requirement, which is a member of the NFIP and compliant. The second motion is, in order to submit the application, you must nominate a chief executive officer to serve as the liaison between the city and FEMA. That may be the mayor, city manager, city administrator, or any other top official. And then lastly would be the motion to direct city staff to create a CRS initiative plan and identify and report for feasible CRS targets. Those are those low-hanging fruits that Matthew and I had mentioned.
So whenever you say other top officials, does that mean somebody on council or it has to be somebody within the office capacity?
So top official, when I'm thinking of it, I'm thinking of those officer positions. Since council does experience some turnover, and typically council members don't act on their own, as opposed to the mayor and city manager.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and go with number one, and I'm gonna make a motion to direct city staff to apply the City of Martindale as a participant of the community rating system.
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion on number one? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries.
And then for number two, Adrian, is this something that you're interested in?
I
That's who
think
you want.
he's the best person.
Okay, so I would like
Good
to
choice.
make a motion to nominate Adrian as our Martindale's Chief Executive Officer to serve as the liaison between the city and FEMA.
Second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries.
And then thirdly, I would like to make a motion to direct city staff to create a CRS initiation plan and identify and report feasible CRS targets.
Second that motion.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to future items.
Before we move on, was there another motion? Did you want to make, Sonia? You had mentioned,
Can I make it as a motion, but because it's not listed?
you can make the motion.
Did that.
No, I'm talking about for what I wanted.
Yeah.
The River
Yeah.
Appreciation Day.
Yeah, it's,
No, you can't do it. No, do it anyway.
okay, yeah.
What agenda?
It is under, I just want to make sure to follow the rules now. Yeah,
We just made a,
I'm a rule follower.
you just made a motion.
2.2.
It wasn't written down.
It was,
Yeah, it's on the screen.
okay, it's a discussion, possible action, motion to accept or deny to direct city staff to enroll the city of Martindale onto the community rating system.
You want to make a motion to,
They were asking me to make a motion. I didn't think I could, but I will.
Make a motion about what though?
These,
About having the presentation and having it being as a workshop
yes,
at
we'll
the,
do that.
okay,
that's
Whatever
so
you're about to say, just make a
Uh-huh.
motion.
I would like to make a motion that at our River Appreciation Day, that on that Saturday during the day, to launch a workshop, an informative session, and opportunities for residents to sign up for the CIS insurance.
Second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. All right. Any more discussion on this? Okay. We'll move on to future items. Is there anything to add?
A lot.
When's our next meeting?
June 1st.
June 1st, yeah.
We gotta talk about the signage and the separate, that's gonna be in our park ordinance.
Oh,
May have to have a meeting before the
Yeah.
1st of June if we want to have that sign
I
on
mean, if
all
you
the
wanna-
Park Mobile
yeah.
stuff.
We're waiting to get the stuff from Park Mobile, I
Yeah.
believe.
I got a message today from the Park Mobiles folks, and their attorney's away for a while, but they should be back soon.
Typical attorneys.
I was gonna say they're probably better off.
But that as soon as he's back in the office, that he will have the signed copy returned to us.
Where are we at with the kickoff meeting?
She asked me today when to register us.
Our next meeting is a first. Can we have another meeting before that to tighten up our park stuff?
That's what we were just talking about.
Is
so I mean, we
the,
already have a town hall next Thursday.
Next Thursday, we have town hall. Do you want to meet earlier than 6:30 and maybe?
Is the park ordinances that we're referring to, is that going to be on the signs or just on the app when they open the phone? Well, we need signage. We need both.
All interrelated.
But I mean, is our ordinances going to be on the park mobile
It'll be a
signs?
workshop.
Or is it going to be on our own signs?
And put it on,
Yeah.
the app. It is very flexible. You could put announcements, current events. It's virtually up to the back-end user.
We need to discuss that and sign.
First, we need to have the ordinances to enforce the rules.
Right.
We know what the rules are before we build signs.
To put on the park mobile
Yes.
app.
In the policy sense, have the rule first. Don't make up rules and don't put rules out there that you can't enforce.
We have a complete list from the park committee already about what the new signage is. That's what I
I
thought.
have the verbiage.
You do.
Mhm.
They did finish it, okay.
That's right.
Oh, good. I didn't know, I wasn't aware that they finished. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that they finished that.
Yeah, there was a joint committee meeting with the River Advisory Board, Parks Advisory Board,
Yeah, that was a.
and they each assigned themselves some homework. I got back the signage verbiage on how it should be presented. I mentioned this at the last meeting. We avoid using negative tones and use more of affirmative and positive.
We'll discuss that future and we'll discuss it and finalize the verbiage.
Before we pursue that signage and or verbiage on the signs, we have to have the real and adopt ordinances stating like the no charcoal briquettes in the riverfront, for instance, or the decibels and the noise. And there's some of our active ordinances that need to be clarified.
So that would be ready for us to review, possible action, discussion and possible action by our next city council meeting.
On the first?
Potentially. I mean, we'll have to revise our last workshops. It's been about a year, I think.
You're out on the first, right? You're back on the first. You're out.
I'm gonna be gone for the next meeting.
Does the verbiage of the ordinance changes, I just have a quick question. Does the verbiage of the ordinance changes need to be submitted to TML and before we can put it on the Park Mobile app?
Well,
TML or whomever we.
Park Mobile is just for parking. It's not for rules or anything else. It's,
But I thought we were gonna include that on the Park Mobile app.
no, there's not an ability to do that. What the best thing that we could do is put a QR code that someone could snap with their phone and pull it up on their phone and review it on the phone.
There's two issues.
But the issue of writing the ordinance, that to me is more of a workshop type setting, because anything that Adrian or I create at this point is going to be subject to some lengthy discussion. And I don't know if a regular city council meeting will have enough time to do line by line changes. That's going to be required to reflect the desires of the city council. Unless each of you want to send versions of a revised ordinance to us and we can try to coalesce them and capture all the input beforehand, there really would be an opportunity for us to guess at what you
Did
want.
we do it at the workshop? Just to have talk about the verbiage?
I think
So
it's-
the problem with the workshop is it's going to be a specially called meeting where we'll require an attorney. So, and our attorney is going to be on leave.
So we'll need to have him there when we're discussing about the verbiage and
We're
order.
having a specially called meeting, yeah.
We have a workshop on June 3rd, Saturday.
Let's ask Kent.
Huh?
Ask Kent first.
A workshop. not-
Oh, workshop.
That's something I want his opinion on.
Were we going to have one or are we, or?
No, we're asking, can we have one?
Oh,
That way we can like talk about it, get it all ready, because it's coming, y'all. We need to get ready.
Yeah.
We need
And
to.
that might be a good
make sure
opportunity to follow up on where we're at with the parking, the ordinance changes, and then also discuss maintenance plans and other items that center around the parks.
But we wouldn't have ordinance changes at the workshop. Oh, discuss the possibility of.
The workshop would be basically the bill markup, where we go line by line. Any
Like we
proposed
did.
changes? Yes, no. All right, next line, any proposed changes?
And then maybe if we get the stuff before that meeting, if you want to propose a change, you better come with a strike through that
Yeah, you
thing.
could send it to
And let's
everyone
do our
in
homework
advance.
first.
Yeah.
And then that way we could come rather than going for each one saying, anybody want to change this one? Anybody? Do your homework and come with it.
We'll be testing you, Nick.
Our teacher,
I got new
Ms.
Braunfels
Glaze,
up right
Mayor
here.
Glaze is
We're
gonna be
just gonna
great.
Copy new Braunfels.
A lot of wisdom in that.
Folders up, let's copy it, put Martindale, cross out no Braunfels, put Martindale.
Question, Ken, was.
There you go.
um,
Or San Marcos.
Is a workshop a specially called city council meeting that would require your attendance? Okay, then I think that gives us some flexibility on date. So if we want to do the 3rd, I think that could work.
Okay,
I probably won't.
9:30, 10 o'clock.
I probably won't be here. I could do Zoom.
I won't be here.
Doesn't sound like that works.
Oh, dear.
Dios mío.
Two, huh?
June 3rd,
I'll be on a plane.
you can zoom
Sounds
in.
like we should do it the week after, because 2 of the river folks won't be here.
Oh, let me see,
Is it asking too
I
much?
think, you know what? I'm gonna start being off on Fridays, y'all. I'm gonna do
Don't
40
tell anybody
hour,
that.
I'm gonna do 40-hour weeks, so maybe a Friday would be good to have a workshop. On one Friday. Yeah,
7:30.
I'm used to waking up early.
Well, but if they're
I'll do
gonna
it
be
Friday,
gone on
Friday
the
morning's
3rd.
good
We
to
don't
me
have to have
always,
it then.
but-
We can
This
wait for our-
this will not be a short,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it will not be.
Well, Friday mornings are always good to me.
Until
it'll last until like 2 or 3 in the afternoon.
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, I'll do
I
it,
might
I
have
could
to
do a
leave for a
Friday.
couple phone calls.
I can probably do it Friday with enough notice. I should be able to
What
get
about,
off.
I mean, how much do we have planned for the next meeting?
Actually, that, Friday would actually work out.
Just come in earlier?
You're good, you're good.
Well, no, this next
You're free
weekend.
on Friday, not this next weekend.
Friday day, then during work hours,
Any holidays, I'm gone, so.
because otherwise.
Oh,
I just
May
gotta talk to the
27th.
boss.
They hold a workshop.
That's the holiday week.
Tap out. I tap out.
Yeah. About that, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, here's
Just
the-
let me know. A day.
Oh,
I'm ready to adjourn.
well, I don't think we don't know when we can have a workshop then, right? Unless you're wanting to do it with 3 council members.
No, because then,
Was the 26th a no-go?
How about the 26th? Can
26th
you
is
do
good.
it the 26th?
Next Friday,
next Friday,
he won't be here. Mike won't be here.
There.
26, yeah, you're driving.
Perfect Zoom time.
Oh, I can't do it. I got graduation.
What about Thursday?
Kid graduated, but in the
Yes,
morning I can do it. I can't do it at night.
Thursday,
Oh, you can
25th?
do it in the morning.
Yeah.
He can do it
Thursday,
in
you
the
said?
morning.
Thursday,
But you're-
it's Thursday morning.
No, Friday morning.
We're already gonna have that community open house, like the mayor said, stack it on top of each other.
That'd be brutal.
What's that now?
The city hall
Before or after.
Thursday.
The 25th?
The community town hall in the evening.
okay. Why don't we just have it earlier that Thursday?
Yeah,
Just start it early Thursday, since
I
we'll
mean,
already
we
all
can't-
be here.
We can't all go to the, I guess we can,
Close notice quorum.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, let's just do it that Thursday, then I'll
Well, if it's
take
a
out the-
workshop, do you have to put a notice of quorum?
No,
town hall meeting.
For the town hall, you post a notice of quorum.
Oh, yeah.
Possible quorum on that thing. Okay.
Their problem solved.
So
So we're gonna do it on Thursday?
make it on Thursday,
This coming Thursday, yes.
9:30.
a week from today.
What
Right,
time
I'll
in
get-
the afternoon?
Yeah, what time? 'Cause we have a 6:30 meeting.
We don't want to start early.
2 PM?
We gotta start
Yeah,
early.
you probably want to start, probably want to start with lunch.
Can you come on Thursday?
I'll check my calendar. There's a good chance I could be.
Okay,
It's a long day right there. boy. It's a
I'll come
long
in like
day.
at,
If you do it Thursday, I'm gonna have to
Where you
get my ass up and work
yeah,
early.
lunch.
So is there a time that everybody can meet on Thursday at 2 or 1, 12?
Doesn't account for me working.
we can
I
make
have
it
to walk-
seem
I have
much
to walk the
more.
dog.
1?
Pretty good stuff.
Everybody make 1 PM Thursday, May 25th?
When?
May 25th, Thursday, week.
Next
from today.
Thursday, a week
Fire
from
hydrant over
today.
there?
At what time?
And that means you're gonna be here.
Well,
So
snakes?
1,
No,
2,
no, it's a little-
3,
it looked like
4,
the size of
5,
a bee.
6,
Stung
7.
Stung his front paw. He went, they just.
Well, hopefully it won't take.
And you know, hopefully y'all.
Well, they just mowed
mirror
yours
it the
too.
same way
Yeah.
again.
Fire hydrant on the other side of the street?
I don't know, he is.
Well, Mike got his, so he's in the.
Loves it.
Whatever.
Every other
Guys
dog.
gotta be too.
He saved some, half a mile. He got a little bit.
I know where I'm dropping the rest of
I'm
this.
done after that.
I'm gonna give it to the
No, I'm
class.
good.
Did we determine a date?
Like,
Thursday.
I think we all agreed next Thursday at 1 PM.
1 p.m.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Speak freely.
No, I'm done. Thank you. Sorry.
I can't do it that early. I have a doctor's appointment.
Oh, that's what she owned about
I just canceled the doctor's appointment. It's okay.
secretary.
That's fine.
Well, we could do 2
It's a
PM.
follow-up.
Would 2
No,
PM, would 2
Sorry.
PM be
it's-
better?
no, don't worry about it. I just canceled it. It's not a big deal.
Okay, 1
It's just a
PM
check.
next Thursday.
Push it to next week. It's fire.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn at 8:09 PM on Thursday, May 18th.
Roll today. I'll second that.
And all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Muchas gracias.